Hi, my name is Orit Krug. I'm an award-winning, board-certified dance movement therapist and licensed creative arts therapist. And today we are talking about the 3 ways that trauma makes people highly successful and also sabotage their relationships at the very same time. So if you identify with bringing in lots of money and wealth and success, but pushing away your partner and sabotaging every chance for love and intimacy in your relationship and even with your family, if you have kids, this is for you. This information will let you know that it is not your fault that you are struggling with this, and also how to get through it and shift it. So let's begin. Number 1, the first way that trauma makes you highly successful and also sabotage your relationships is that you have an unstoppable drive to become the best. And no matter what happens, no matter what challenges come through your way, you continue to push through. You have this fire inside of you that's been burning, that's been lit for a really long time. And this fire has allowed you to be recognized and rewarded for your brilliance and your talents. And even if you have a colleague who has been more recognized for you or has gotten the credit for something that you've achieved, it may set you back, but then your fire rages even harder because you have this deep internal need to be validated, to be seen, to be recognized, because the trauma you experienced was neglect or rejection or abandonment where you weren't seen, or maybe you had the message often that you were never going to be anything. You were never going to amount to anything, that you're worthless. Someone may have told you that constantly. And now, obviously, you are here at the top, but you still have this need to prove yourself to the world, because even though you've achieved so much success, there is this emptiness inside that you don't really believe you're worth it. And all of this really is tough on your relationship because you need to be seen and recognized. You need to feel like the best in your relationship, which is hurtful and it's not helpful because, number 1, while you are focusing on becoming the best at work, you're neglecting your partner's needs. And also you have some really harsh standards. Like if your partner doesn't praise you the right way or the right amount, or they don't do enough to recognize you, you feel really hurt, you feel angry, you feel sad, you might lash out, or you might pull away. And if you are struggling with this, I want you to know that this does not define who you are, this way of being, because it is your fight response that is being activated because of unresolved trauma. You have this fight to become the best. And it's also probably triggering your flight response. So you're running away from intimacy, you're running away from your relationship and escaping into work. And while this has created amazing success in your career, it is something that needs to be rewired in order for you to really have a healthy relationship and be able to bring in success and wealth and love all at the same time without sabotaging any of it. Now, the second way that trauma has created so much success in your career, but also creating simultaneously relationship issues at home, is that you would never give up on yourself or your dreams. And this started from the very first trauma you experienced, because there are 2 paths that you can take when you experience trauma. The first path is the path to self-defeat, and the second path is rising above and becoming stronger than ever before. And you have always taken path number 2. Now here you are. You've made millions, perhaps, in your career. You've come out at the top. And it's because of your tenacity. No matter how much pain you've experienced, you've always risen above and shown yourself and the world how capable you are. But this has taken a toll on your relationship because this fierce independence that you have, like all right, if nobody else is going to help me, I'm going to make this happen for myself. I'm going to make my career dreams happen for myself. I don't need to depend on anybody. Nobody, I can't really even trust anybody. I mean, really, I've learned that from a very young age. Maybe maybe not that exact dialogue, but that has been going on for you. And now when it comes to your relationship, if you have an issue with your partner, you tune right back into that fierce independence and you're like, fine, I will deal with this on my own, or I don't need you, I'm going to resolve it. And you might threaten to leave, or you might push them away, or you just shut them out. And a healthy, lasting partnership, emphasis on partnership, requires you and your partner together to navigate through issues. That is how you build a lasting bond. That is how you become closer and stronger, is by getting through the difficult stuff together, not by separating and doing it on your own. And there are times that call for a little bit more independence and a little bit more interdependence, but to be this fierce, independent person in your relationship is not a partnership, and it makes your partner feel left out. It defeats the very purpose of having a partnership. Now, when you have a disagreement with your partner, it's not something you can control. You've probably tried to change this pattern, but the reason it's not changing and why it's not your fault is because your nervous system right now is so uncomfortable with conflict, especially unresolved conflict. So if you have a fight and it's not resolving right away, you push or force, or you try to get them to talk before you're ready instead of giving space, because when you experience conflict in your past, whether you directly experience conflict or you witness parents' conflict, it was not safe. It ended in things that happened that were very unsafe for you or your family members or whoever else was involved. And because this trauma is stored in your nonverbal brain and body, your nervous system and your brain literally can't distinguish that an unresolved conflict with your partner today is not the same as an aggressive, violent fight between your parents. You can tell yourself all you want that it's okay if we have it's okay we didn't resolve this fight, but your mind, that part of your mind that talks to yourself, shuts down. It goes offline when your trauma is triggered, when you experience trauma. So all you're really reacting to is in the moment is that trauma that feels so real today. And not great news, right? But the good news about that is that you can rewire those responses. And lastly, the third way that trauma has created so much success in your career, but lots of relationship problems at home, is that you can problem solve anything. Now, I'll share a personal story about this, because it is so common for us trauma survivors to analyze the crap out of everything. And after I experienced my trauma, through experiencing many, many years, almost 20 years of trauma, I became a master analyzer, a master problem solver, because that was my way of analyzing my environment. Is it safe? Is it safe? Can I talk? Can I do this? What is the look on my abuser's face? What are they going to do? Are they going to hurt me? Are they going to hug me? I became so hyper-focused on analyzing what was going to happen and how to keep myself safe, because that was a very wise way for me to, in fact, keep myself safe, or at least give me the illusion that I could keep myself safe. So having a very active thinking mind was a helpful protective mechanism during my trauma. And it has been tremendously productive for my business and my career, but it almost killed my relationship for good. So I made up things that weren't there. I was never really present to enjoy my relationship, because I was always thinking about what's going to happen next and what are the signs, and seeing red flags when there actually weren't any. So if you find yourself overanalyzing your partner's words or facial expressions, body language, or behaviors, that's probably your trauma talking. And this has made you, if you resonate with this skill, it's made you an incredible problem solver and just like amazing creative thinker in your business. But it is probably driving you mad in your relationship. You might be snooping your partner's messages. You might be looking for any sign of evidence that your partner is going to abandon or hurt you, especially when they've never been unloyal or abusive or malicious towards you. It's going to sabotage your relationship. And again, this is not your fault. This is trauma. This is trauma hijacking your nervous system and taking over your body and making you behave in ways that you wish you wouldn't. And I'll give you an example of how detrimental trauma can be, how much of a monster it can be in taking over your actions and your perspective without realizing how much it's doing it, or realizing but not being able to change it. So I was working with this couple recently, and they really felt that it was detrimental to have space from each other, to do things independently within their relationship. Whether their partner took space, they felt abandoned, or whether they took space, they were afraid of abandoning their partner. And so after all these years of marriage, they pretty much became codependent and lost their sense of self-identity and independence because they weren't comfortable with having more independence in their relationship. And this amounted to a lot of resentment, a lot of unfulfillment in their relationship. So when we started working together, we really quickly, in movement, I guided them to experiment with physically moving away from each other, physically moving back, and doing that. And I'm going to quote my client, Justin. He's given me permission to quote him. He said, "Looking back, our conflicts weren't really disasters. It was us looking through a screen colored by past trauma. Once we healed the way we were physically reacting to each other, it changed everything for us in a way that nothing else ever had." Because they realized this, because they both had this safe and therapeutic physical experience of moving away and realizing that it wasn't as detrimental or as horrible as they imagined. And it gave them this embodied, I'm so excited, I can't speak. It gave them the embodied experience that it was actually safe and fulfilling to be more independent. And not only that, we layered on top of that where they started to choose how they wanted to come back and reunite and connect again. And they came up with one of the things they told me even 6 months later after we finished was that they would come back and brush up against each other. And when they told me about this, they were giggling and laughing. And it's just an incredible transformation for them to see that all these years of being afraid was due to trauma, was them looking through trauma-tinted glasses, and that it was never really that scary at all. And now they can choose the way they want to interact and separate and come back together and spark new excitement, have a deeper connection. And this kind of transformation is exactly what saves, and it reignites relationships that become stagnant and unhealthy due to old trauma. So as you can see, there are ways to work with this, to shift this, and it does require rewiring your nervous system and healing old trauma through body and movement, because research shows that the mind and the mind-heavy therapies are not enough. Even newer, less traditional therapies, there are shortfalls. Is that a word? I think so. There are ways that it's not enough. And in my free self-assessment, where you discover your healing archetype, I will help you understand why everything you've tried so far, therapy, couples counseling, EMDR, whatever it is, I will help you understand with neuroscience to back it up why it hasn't been enough for you. And you will also be able to learn if your body and nervous system are ready to let go of the past and heal in the way that you've been trying for so long. And I'll also share with you my methodology about how I've helped so many people and couples move past trauma and let in a much more deeper, fulfilling love and joy in their life and their relationships in a way that didn't work through even 20 or more years of therapy. And this is such important information if you are blaming yourself for your relationship issues. And it's also imperative if you want to be able to let in love on top of the success and wealth that you're already bringing. Because right now, you're not able to let in all of that. And I will assure you that if you heal your trauma and rewire your nervous system, you will not lose your ability to be successful. You will not lose that drive, but it will come from a much more regulated place. It will allow you to not stress over any part of your life, work or relationships, and allow you to bring in wealth and love and success from a calm, cool, regulated, open, surrendering, and trusting place. And not only does that feel so much better emotionally, but for your body to let go of all that tension and control, it's life-changing. So take the healing archetype self-assessment, find out which healing archetype you are, and you will understand more about yourself and your healing journey and what steps you need to take, so much more than most people get in years of therapy. So I can't wait to learn about what healing archetype you are. And until then, I hope you know you deserve to be able to let in healthy, lasting love, wealth, and success.